Y'all, can I tell you about these Tecovas boots? I don't know if y'all know this, but these boots are handmade, high quality, stylish, and comfortable right out of the box. I know we buy everything online these days, but boots are something you really should get fitted for. And it just so happens Tecovas is based right here in Austin. So come shop with me at the Tecovas store on South Congress or the Domain. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Today on CityCast Austin, we're talking to an Austin icon who entertains the masses and also speaks truth to power, Bridget Bandit. June is Pride Month, y'all, and Bridget is busy. But she carved out some time to talk to me about what it's like to be such an important part of Austin's LGBTQ plus community in 2024. CityCast Austin is brought to you by our exclusive launch partner, Tecovas. It's Monday, June 24th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello. I am here with drag performer, Austin icon, Bridget Bandit to talk about Pride Month. Bridget has been a drag performer since the late 2010s. Regularly is out here advocating for all of us with the Texas legislature in full drag, has been in hearings, got a guitar from Dolly Parton. I'm so excited to have you here. What is up, Bridget? How are you?
Hi, I'm doing all right.
Why are you so drawn to Dolly Parton? And what is it about her that you seek to pay homage to or replicate?
Okay, so Cher was my first concert and Dolly was my second, and that's why I'm a drag queen now.
Yes.
So I've always loved Dolly since I was a kid. I grew up, my mom, obviously exposed me to her. And especially as a drag queen, I love her heightened femininity. Obviously, her silhouette is goals.
I mean, it's the standard.
But also the way that she has taken up this space as this very feminine person and persona. It has constantly been misunderstood and judged, but the way that she is able to fight these ideas and push back on these ideas with such eloquence and grace and humor, she knows who she is. And nobody can make her doubt who she is. And she can sit there and explain herself in this really wonderfully powerful, graceful way that I think is really inspiring to me.
She's a light. That's what Dolly Parton feels like to me. I knew that you're one of the people that I wanted to interview just because I think you're fascinating. And I think that you are probably one of the most, just like active people in the queer community in Austin. You are from Austin. I am also a native Austinite. Do you remember ever celebrating Pride here?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I was always kind of exposed to queerness and queer art, especially growing up seeing Leslie on the street and stuff like that. But I don't think my first Pride was until I was an adult.
I think same for me. Will you tell us a little bit about your first Pride in Austin?
One of my first memories was a Pride parade. I actually don't know if I've ever actually been to the Pride Festival, but I've been to the Pride parades, and I remember going to the Pride parade with all my lesbian friends. And whenever they used to march on 4th Street. I don't think they go down 4th Street anymore. They go down Congress. So I remember going there, and we were in the car right before Pride, painting my friend's face. We put glitter rainbows on her face. And so I put one on my face, and she was like, I want one on mine. And I'm sitting there putting a glitter rainbow on her face, putting glitter all over her car.
Oh, little baby gays. Oh. That's the best part of your first Pride is putting rainbow on every single part of your body, every single part of your friend's body. Yeah. Do you have any idea why they celebrate in August and not in June like you're supposed to?
So I just joined the LGBTQIA plus Quality of Life Advisory Commission, and we were talking about why it was held in August, and not even the people like within our little advisory board knows all the history and stuff. But there were some ideas that were shared. One was that they didn't want to be in competition with a lot of other bigger prides that happen here in the state that happen in June. And then also they wanted to wait until UT students were back in town. But that doesn't seem to make sense because Pride this year is being held like a couple weeks before school is supposed to start. So,
What?
I'm not quite sure. What do you think? Why do you think Pride is in August?
Okay, so now you're blowing my mind because that's the same thing we found out. We found out that the big deal was because they want to wait for the students to come back. And I want to say one of the things even said that it's less hot, which I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. But the big thing was like, oh, we want to wait for the students to come back in so they can participate. But if you're telling me that now they're going to have it this year, the students ain't even going to be back.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either. And we actually were talking about potentially trying to get community feedback about trying to move Austin Pride to either a cooler month or make it back into June. So I think
Period.
this is something that is up for discussion right now. And we would love community feedback. Do we actually really want to have our Pride in August? It's hot as hell out there.
I've heard so many people like complain about like why
Mhm.
is this in August? So now you have heard it here. We need
Yeah.
community feedback to change it. Tell
Yes.
us a little bit about this commission. Talk about the goals, what you're hoping to accomplish, all that good stuff.
Sure. So actually, I just had my very first commissioner meeting. So I'm still kind of new to this and learning exactly what we're trying to do and figure out. But it was actually really, really interesting. We're trying to create a community center, an LGBTQIA plus community center right now. And so we're kind of looking at different potential spots and buildings that we can build into something that the community would want. We're trying to get a little bit more out in the community and also let the community know that we are available and that we exist, because I don't think a lot of our local queer community knows that we have a specific commission on the city of Austin to help make their voice heard within their local government.
The commissions are essentially a direct line to the city council and the mayor. It's a direct line. So like you have a hand in policy making and change and like resolutions and all. There's a lot of responsibility and power, but also it's just a really good way to, get shit done.
And did you also see that they were able to pass an ordinance that deprioritized the enforcement of the trans youth healthcare ban here locally in Austin? And I think that is so awesome that we're able to do things at least on a local government level, even despite what's happening on our state government, right? I went up to City Hall and testified for the very first time at City Hall.
As soon as you walked up to the podium, everybody was like, shut up, shut up. She's like, Bridget's at the podium. Bridget's at the podium. Listen, I'm from here. I love it here. Like it's probably one of my favorite speeches that day. Cause it was just like, here it is, here it is. I'm not gonna get up here and yell at you. It's just like fact, 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 fact. Okay, have a good day. Like it was just
No, exactly. Like I kept it just simple and to the point. And I also kind of understood that unlike going to our state capital, I'm talking with people who are actually listening, engaging, and want to hear with what I'm saying, and that also agree with me to a certain level, right?
To that point, the Texas legislature, you already know, loves to target Austin. They love to target Austin ordinances. When the legislature comes back, are you worried that they're going to circle back around? Because, they always got their nose in our business.
That's something that I think about, especially with, the way that the drag ban bill has been blocked, and we're able to do things that combat what they're trying to achieve in the government, but they're still going to try to go after us no matter what. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to stop it and stop fighting it and pressing back on those things. So I could sit here and think about what is going to happen next, but I don't think that's going to really change what I do now, right?
Right.
I think we still need to show up and fight these things.
Yeah. Hell yeah, I agree. We'll be right back after this break. back with Bridget Bandit talking about Pride Month in Austin. Now, so I read that you have always been a performer at heart. And as someone who that speaks to, like, how did you get started in drag initially?
What happened actually is I went to my work party, and I used to always get dressed up all crazy for my work party. And I woke up the next morning and I posted on my Facebook, I said, woke up covered in glitter and blood because as much as I like to be a drag queen, my uterus won't let me forget her presence. And somebody posted a video and they said, hey, actually, like women and AFAB people can do drag. I didn't realize somebody like me could do drag, basically. And whenever I realized that somebody like me could do drag, somebody's assigned female at birth, and I kind of understood gender more. Like, I literally, whenever I found out I could do drag, I cried. It was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've always wanted to do. I've always said I wanted to be a drag queen. I was friends with a lot of drag performers and stuff, and I'm so surprised that it was only one person who doesn't even do drag that was the one who commented on that and said something. And I'm like, why didn't y'all let me know? Why didn't y'all let me know? You know? And then once I started to get into drag and in the community more, I did get some pushback and some weird comments and things like that. But things have changed exponentially ever since then. So I'm really happy that drag, at least here in Austin, is we have a lot of gender diversity now.
A lot. And not for nothing, I think that you have a lot to do with that too, because you have I call it like drag open mic, but it's like big tits, bigger dreams. Is that right?
Yes. We call it BTBD. And it is my open drag sign-up night. There was only competitive spaces for newcomers in Austin. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was inappropriately judged more harshly as an AFAB performer. And so I felt like these spaces weren't very welcoming to me. And I also found my success outside of competitive spaces and worrying about trying to appeal to a certain kind of person or judge. And I was like, well, I want to create something where new performers don't have to feel like they have to do that, and they can do whatever they want. And so I created the first non-competitive open drag night. And then I also was like, well, what else can I give them that will help their drag and their drag career, which is professional photography. So they get free professional photography from Scam Likely.
I did not know that.
Whenever they actually do get booked, they have promos and things to share already.
I love this. You get to see all these babies coming out and like cutting their teeth and doing drag for the first time in a safe space. And everybody in the audience is just ready to support them and give them money.
It's so much fun.
Now, what does drag mean to you personally? Let's just talk a little bit more about that.
For me, drag has been a way to explore myself in a way outside of gender norms and gender expectations, right? I felt like before I did drag, I would always dress pretty flamboyantly, but I would have to make sure I didn't go too flamboyantly because I still had to exist in the world. And drag has kind of allowed me to go crazy, do whatever I want. So fun to play with gender in that way. It's just so much fun.
It's so great. For me, I'm like, in the crowd, like, yeah, like I'm just loving it. But it makes some people uncomfortable. Why do you think playing with gender in that way makes people so uncomfortable?
Well, I think it's going to make people uncomfortable who find power and value within the social structures of gender and gender expectations, right? Especially for like cis straight men, especially cis straight white men, hold no power within queer spaces. And so that might make them feel uncomfortable, especially living in a world where they normally hold power within any space that they enter. So I think the people who it threatens their power for, it makes them really uncomfortable. And then also people who have bought into these ideas, it makes me really sad. That's why you have, transphobic women and stuff like that.
So like your testimony in March of last year went viral. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that it resonated so much with people? Like, did you ever expect drag performances to even be targeted by a legislative bill?
Okay, so I was nominated for Best of Austin in the Austin Chronicle, right? And I was nominated for Best Drag Performer, but I was also nominated for Best Activist. And I was thinking about if I told Bridget whenever I started about 5 years ago that one day I'd be nominated for Best Activist, she would be like, why? Why? What for? Because that was something I never considered I would have to go into battle for my rights just to wear my big fake lashes and my wig, right? I had kind of felt like I needed to hide the fact that I was a female drag queen to find more acceptance within this community, right? Which is kind of like I was trying to appeal to almost the misogyny that we do see within drag. But it was also the important point that the way the bill was written, it wouldn't have affected me, right? So those differences actually ended up helping protect the entire community. I did not realize it was going to go viral to the way that it did. I had no idea.
I loved it. How did Republicans respond?
Republicans, there's so many different responses to this, which is one is it's still wrong. They still think it's wrong. Some people say, oh, it's even worse that it's a woman. And then some of them just absolutely refuse to believe that I actually am female. And they're like, literally like, I literally will be like, let's see your birth certificate.
Talk about completely missing the point. So in Texas and elsewhere, drag queen story hours have come under fire, and critics don't like the combination of drag and children. And so it's a two-part question here. How do you respond to those who say it's a dangerous combination? And then also, are there any aspects of drag that you think are inappropriate for children?
I see drag as it's a form of art. And like any form of art, let me just quote my testimony, can be produced by many different people and be modified for different kinds of audiences, right? So whenever I think about this, I think about it in like terms of you're going to see a movie, right? And you have rated G movies and you have rated R movies. It doesn't mean all movies are wrong for or bad for children just because rated R movies exist. And it doesn't mean that an actor is bad for a kid just because they've done a rated R movie when it's the rated G movie that they're trying to see, right? So drag also exists on that spectrum of appropriateness. Yes, there are absolutely drag shows that children should not be at, okay? and we have age restrictions on those, clear age restrictions on those. Most drag shows are for adults. The reason why I do shows for kids is because I am invited to do those shows by kids by the parents who aren't constantly sexualizing me. So they understand that drag can be appropriate for kids. And I also think that drag is important for kids to see and can be celebrated. And there's nothing wrong with it. And kids love a drag queen. One of my very first gigs with kids, I thought I was the one in danger, but with the way the kids were swarming me.
I was talking to my mom about this once, and she was like, I don't understand the big deal. She's like, it makes sense. And, my mom is, a 69-year-old Black woman. So, keep that in mind. But she's like, it's like a real life cartoon character.
Yes.
Why wouldn't kids be drawn to a real life in the flesh, larger than life character?
Yes.
So what is it like to be queer in Texas these days?
It has gotten exponentially more dangerous to be openly, visibly queer. And I think we all feel that. Especially as a drag queen, if I can get dressed at the gig, I prefer to get dressed as the gig as opposed to trying to walk between like my car and the event. It's hard. Visibility is important. And no matter what, it's important that we continue showing up and that we don't hide and we don't go silent and we don't let them control the narrative, and that we continue to empower ourselves however we can, because it might be very difficult to continue to fight against this rhetoric and ideas that are threatening our safety. So it's difficult, it's challenging, and some days are harder than others, but I really do try to get back to calling out these people as much as I can. I feel so lucky to be here in Austin. Even with all the oppression that we see and we feel, I I know that it's even worse in these smaller Texas cities, and that we have to be the leaders to help those people who aren't able to get out of those smaller towns. So it's really important as Austinites that we use, I hate to call it like a privilege, but the difference in the way that we do have a little bit more acceptance here in Texas to try to make it better for the rest of Texans, and especially rural Texans who don't really have any other option. Like, we're able to find our queer spaces here, but a lot of queer spaces don't exist outside of these big cities, right?
Right. I definitely feel like in a lot of ways living in Austin as a queer, Black fat woman is a privilege. It feels like a safe place for me to be. And that's just like a big deal.
We are a little blue spot in a sea of red. And so we have to, as queer Texans, kind of find each other and celebrate each other and have fun together. And we also face a lot of oppressive bills, rhetoric, and stuff like that. So it's kind of like almost we're like trauma bonded. We kind of have this weirdness and quirkiness about us that maybe other, blue cities in Texas don't have, just because of the history of Austin has kind of always attracted artistic folks. The queer community here in Austin, there's a lot of things that makes us special and unique, right? And I think a lot of it has to do with having to find each other as queer people within a lot of bigotry and hateful stuff.
There's a specialness to it. What I see in our community is that just like we show up for each other. If something is happening, if someone's not being treated well, it's like, but we also hold each other to task, which I also like. So what is the message that you want to drive home to Austinites during Pride this year?
During Pride, I think, first and foremost, before anything, Pride was and is a motherfucking riot. And it's important right now, especially with everything that's happening politically, to recognize where our rights come from. And our rights don't come from Target having a Pride section. It matters that we understand where our money and our attention and our pride comes from, and how we celebrate it. And where we choose to put our resources and our time and attention as queer people, especially during Pride. There's so many people who want to profit off of us as queer people, but don't show up the rest of the year when it's time to fight for our rights and basic humanity. Support your local businesses like the Little Gay Shop that only sells things that are made by queer people and is queer owned, and support your businesses that are queer owned, like Cheer Up Charlie's, and go tip your drag queens and celebrate your drag queens, and really put yourself in these queer spaces that don't just exist during June.
If y'all have not been to the Little Gay Shop lately, let me tell you something. I went there for one thing a couple of weeks ago and left out of there, 17 things later. It is the best. So what Pride events are you most looking forward to this month or August? What are you looking forward to the most?
Oh my gosh, Pride events. Well, okay, my Pride events that I'm excited for is that I get to travel to so many different cities this Pride month. Yeah, so I get to tomorrow I'll be in San Marcos, and then I'm going to go perform in Lockhart for Pride of Caldwell County. And then next weekend I'm going to be in Dallas. And then the weekend after that I'm going to be in Abilene, which Abilene was one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Just see queer people celebrated at every single corner in Texas. I think that is what I am so excited for during this Pride Month. I just love just traveling around Texas and seeing the way that us queer people continue to persist and celebrate each other no matter what.
Now, wait a minute. You said lawsuit. Tell me about this lawsuit real quick.
I was a part of the lawsuit with the ACLU that blocked the Texas drag ban. So I basically sued the state of Texas for my rights. And then I had to go explain to an 84-year-old judge what a breastplate is and why I need it to look like Dolly Parton. And he said my rubber titties were free speech.
Comes through.
Yes. So that is ultimately what blocked the drag ban.
Bridget, this has been a treat. Thank you so much for coming and talking to me.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk with you too. So thank you so much for having me.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. Check out our show notes for today's episode to find Bridget's social media links. If you enjoyed the show, share it with pride and tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.